Welcome to Truth or Raps. This is probably going to be yet another episode that doesn't have to do with rap. I could say that there was a Kanye West line where he said something along the lines of like, choke a South Park writer with a fish dick, which is a reference to them. I think like they had him on the show and they had his character say like, I want fish sticks or something, but it sounded like he was saying fish dicks, something like that. I'm not even sure what the joke was, but yeah, that's the rap inclusion here. But I mentioned South Park because sometimes it pays to wait. Last month, towards the end of February and into the beginning of March, even, or maybe just towards the end of February, whenever it was, they were selling South Park The Fractured But Whole for like a low price, like $12.99 or something, which was a pretty big markdown, especially because now they weren't kidding. They had that price, and now that the sale's over for that, it's back to like $49.99 for that game. I had thought that it might have been on one of these videos or maybe one of my final Matt Shtick videos on Rumble, MATT space SHTICK, not SCHTICK, even though I originally had it that way, and I spelled it that way even on this channel, after I had changed it to the correct spelling of Shtick. But anyway, it wasn't, what a great channel name though, Matt Shtick, come on, Matt Shtick, like a matchstick, but also Matt Shtick. That's great. But I thought I might have had The Fractured But Whole. No, I think it might have been something on this channel, actually. I thought I might have, one of the ones that doesn't have video specifically, I think. But I thought I might have had The Fractured But Whole, like, the whole game, because I had downloaded the demo, and I think I had played the whole demo, maybe, or no, I stopped like somewhere into some of the battle stuff, but I had downloaded the demo, and it was like, oh, this is the South Park game that I wanted less of the two, particularly the battle system in the Fractured But Whole. That's the newer game. The battle system is like a grid, sort of almost a Final Fantasy Tactics kind of battle system or something, and I had a blast with Final Fantasy Tactics Advance back in the days where I had a Game Boy Advance and played it and had bought that game or had gotten it as a present or something. But still, like with the South Park game especially, but often, just really usually, tactics games, it just feels like, I think I suffer from the kind of fatigue that many people suffer from these days that would lead people to maybe watch video game Twitch streams and stuff, like watch people playing video games or showing video game footage and reviewing video games rather than playing them. Like, there's a great exhaustion behind that, I think. Like, truly, like, literally a sense of it would take more effort to play this video game than I currently want to put forth, so instead I'm watching somebody else play a video game. It's like, really, the apotheosis of something is people watching other people play video games online. But anyway, so I think I had let the sale go by, and I had thought back to it too. I was like, yeah, I thought like, well, I had wanted a South Park game, and kind of like if it seemed like which one seemed like I would be more interested in anyway, the Stick of Truth would be the one. Plus the Truth or Raps, the Stick of Truth. Like if it's talking about truth at all, of course it's South Park, and I think they have like a section where you can like kill a baby while it's being born or something. It's horrific stuff, like really, truly bad. And I think I talked about how horrific it was on this channel on one that actually has a video part of it. I think that's the one where I maybe talked about how I didn't end up having the Fractured But Whole, but I thought I did for a little bit because I saw it in my downloads and it didn't say the Fractured But Whole demo, it just said the Fractured But Whole, and I was like, I remember like sort of just Xing through quickly to buy something like from the PlayStation Store at one point, like, okay, whatever's in here. But it must have been another game that I do know that I have. Like, but I remember thinking like, okay, like whatever's in there, that's the game I should get or something. I think that might have actually been Redout 2, which is an awesome game. Super awesome. Really, really cool stuff. But Um, but I was thinking back to it, and I was like, shit. Well, it says I have the South Park. It says I have South Park: The Fractured But Whole, just like as a game that I own, like in my library, but that's not down installed on the system yet. So I installed it again. I was like, oh shit, like do I have the whole game? And I think even in maybe if there was a video where I was talking about possibly having the whole game before I realized I didn't, I think I might have even said maybe it's just the demo or something, but I thought like, well, maybe it is just the demo or something. And of course, it took a long time to download. It was like 8 hours or something, and I finally went to it, and it was like, oh yeah, yeah, this game you have the trial version, so it was just the demo, but for the demo, it's actually kind of ingenious. They have you download the entire. In this case, anyway, I don't think that's not the case with some other demos because I downloaded maybe a demo of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3 remakes, and I ended up buying both of those games as a package. It was called Raccoon City Edition. Like literally, the title of the game was no other words on the PlayStation Store, just Raccoon City Edition, and it included a couple of Resident Evil games which took place in Raccoon City. But in any case, I mean, I guess which took place in Raccoon City, but there are Resident Evil games that, using that instead of which there grammatically correctly, that don't take place in Raccoon City. So, but it's a couple of the ones that do. And those were a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed both of those games. I think Resident Evil 3 Remake gets like a weird, like nasty reputation. Maybe it's not quite as good as Resident Evil 2 Remake, but it's really fun. Like as I said in one of the videos somewhere, I think it might have been the video entitled Resident Evil 3, or maybe more Resident Evil 3, or Resident Evil 3 more, on maybe the one that actually had the Resident Evil 3 footage instead of mostly Resident Evil 2 footage on Matchstick on Rumble. But yeah, I liked Resident Evil 3 Remake. It was really good. And in some sense, I think I might have had more fun with it than I did with Resident Evil 2 Remake. But in any case, both are good games, or I would say so. And in any case, I went on the PlayStation Store tonight, and I was feeling like I wanted to buy a game, and I had the thought maybe a few times, like I thought like, well, if the Fractured But Whole was on sale last month, and I saw something about like some maybe PlayStation Ubisoft partnership or something indicating that South Park might be on the edition of the PlayStation Plus network where you get to just download games for free or something, or maybe it was. I think it was actually. But in any case, like something led me to think, well, they're doing stuff with Ubisoft, or at least with South Park games right now. So maybe maybe after the time where they have the Fractured But Whole at a discount, within which time, by the way, I was tempted to but resisted buying by South Park: The Stick of Truth on the PlayStation Store at the price of $29.99. But in any case, what I'm leading up to here is that I got the game for fucking $7.49 today, plus tax. I think it was $7.49, so it turned out to be $8.01. But I saw it said 75% off, and I was like, oh man. I was like doing calculations, and I was like, well, is $29.99 the actual price, or is that like a lowered price in itself? And I was thinking like, if 75% off equals something like in the tens of dollars, like I guess $10 to $20 range, then I'm going to get it. And it ended up being less than $10. So